Hey guys, welcome to Destiny's Not Dead, the podcast. Episode 1. We did a soft launch a couple days ago. Just wanted to see what kind of reaction we were going to get. And I will tell you, we have gotten some huge reactions. Which, to be honest, I kind of expected at this point. When you make a statement that is that stark and that bold, when a large portion of the community is saying the opposite, of course, you're going to elicit responses. So, for those that didn't hear the soft launch, episode 0, if you will, or haven't been following the Twitter account, which is at Destiny's Not Dead, a quick overview on what we're supposed to be doing here, and then we're going to get into some other stuff that's been going on lately, okay? Destiny's Not Dead was born out of this idea that, you know what, the Destiny, the game Reddit, has long been a bastion of the community. It's been very... For the majority of its lifespan, it's been a reasonable, balanced discussion, meaning you've got really strong criticisms and you've got people over here that are just fanboys and shills, but a much larger contingency of people in the middle, and everyone having discussions, most of them pretty constructive and rational. At the end of the day, okay? You're always going to have people on both sides of the extreme, just perfectly fine, and I get that, right? However, in recent months, due to, fan backlash on Destiny 2, which a lot of it is justified. It's the degree that I'm a bit critical of. That particular place has just gone to hell. It is something where, negative threads are being posted near constantly. Anything positive or moderate's getting downvoted into oblivion. It's just not a place to have discussion anymore. It's become a place where people are just complaining all the time, and the people that were there that were moderate or positive have just stopped going because it's not an enjoyable experience. Now, that does not mean that everyone on the Destiny Reddit are negative people. It doesn't mean that criticisms are unfounded. It just means that that's what's happened there. The Bungie forums for Destiny have always been kind of a shitstorm, to be honest, because it's the most mainstream place that you can express your opinion about Destiny other than, like Twitter or something like that, where, that is what it is, right? So I created the Destiny's Not Dead podcast as an idea to not combat that, but just to provide an alternative. In other words, we're not here to fight a fight. That's not what this is about. This is about saying, hey, we want there to be a place where you can feel confident that we're going to have rational discussions about Destiny. We will be critical because I'm not happy with the state of Destiny 2. I'm not happy with the state of the Destiny community. And I think that Bungie has a lot of things they got to fix. However, I'm not going to sit here, for, a couple hours a week and talk shit about the game for its own sake, which seems to be where a lot of people are coming from at this point, unfortunately. We're in a very similar spot to what we saw at this point in Destiny 1's history, okay? Albeit for different reasons, okay? Destiny 1, in the spring of the year after it came out, had lost a large portion of its mainstream user base, and they proclaimed the game dead. And they said it over and over and over again throughout the rest of Destiny 1's life. The Destiny 2 hype train came along. It came out. It did disappoint on many levels. And we've lost that mainstream player base again. And we're starting the same conversations over again. It takes a different tone when you have a lot of returning players going like, how could this happen again? Well, one of the things that we talked about on the episode 0 was that Destiny 2 had been designed from the ground up to be more friendly to casual players and to lessen the time investment that one would need to have in order to progress in the game. When you look at it that way, because that was their goal, they certainly achieved that goal. The problem is that they did not, and when I say they, of course, I'm speaking of Bungie, they didn't account for the fact that there were people that once they progressed, they would want to keep playing and they would need incentive to do so. In other words, there are people that are going to want to play this game for a very long time, after they hit those, attainable goals, which makes perfect sense and is a reasonable thing to expect given the style of the game that it is. In other words, they had the right idea at heart to bring some balance to the time investment, but they didn't balance the reward system with it, and they swung that pendulum way too far. The community was extremely vocal. Everyone that was either super positive or super negative or in the middle. We all were just like, nah, this isn't really what we were asking for. And that slowly ramped up into these more vitriolic, more consistent arguments because people were just very disappointed. DLC came out, much of the same, and it only is now, after months and months of consistent communication and them being very open with the community about what's being done, that it seems like Bungie gets it. And that's good. Like this next update, the Go Faster update, 1.1.4, I believe it is. Might be 1.4. Don't quote me on that. It's coming out in a few days after this has been recorded. It's being recorded on Sunday, March the 25th. It's set to come out this Tuesday. Okay? So, with that in mind, this is a major update to the game that's going to change the way things are done to presumably squash some of those things that are making the game not as much fun to play. Is this by itself going to be enough? No, of course not. It's a start, and it's a really good one. Depending upon the quality of the next expansion, that could help. But if it's anything like Curse of Osiris, it'll be a flash in the pan that will just give more content to play. What we need is a game that is fun to play for several hours, or as many hours as you wish to play. Because for me right now, Destiny 2 is extremely fun to play, just for a shorter period of time, because after a while I'm just like, I'm not getting anything out of this. And as a content creator, it does make it difficult to play on stream for long periods of time, because some people love to watch it, some don't. I am blessed in the fact that my community will watch me play just about anything, thank goodness. So out of respect for them, I try to change it up. And I've been trying to do that since before Destiny 2 came out. Anyway, so that all said, we're here to be rational, be positive where it's deserved, and just avoid just throwing shit at the wall, okay? So again, we're not here to be shills. I'm no Bungie apologist, because I think they fucked up the release of Destiny 2 in a lot of ways. And I think that although they are doing a lot to make up for things now, they need to demonstrate that they've learned that lesson moving forward. There's already talk about a Destiny 3, and I think that's a very bad move. I think what they need to do is create a sequel-sized expansion and just keep expanding on the game as it is. They need to rebuild some of the old environments from Destiny 1, some of the activities, not all of them necessarily, I would love all of them, from Destiny 1, and put them in the Destiny 2 base. They need to deliver on that larger experience, okay? Now, even if they don't bring all the Destiny 1 stuff back and they simply expand on Destiny 2 and do what would be a Destiny 3 sequel, I'd be pretty happy. Unless Destiny 3 would become some kind of a full reboot like Destiny 2, I think we're going to be okay. I just don't see them making that mistake again. I don't, but it's possible. It is entirely possible. So I'm not here to say, oh, everything's going to be fine. I have faith that it will, but anything's possible at this point. So what I wanted to talk about today was something actually that we posted. And by we, I mean me. Beard Grizzly had put out a video on his wonderful lore channel, and it was an in-character video that essentially used lore terms and lore situations to criticize the negative portions of the Destiny community and criticize those that would try to degrade the chase for lore or the passion for lore that many people still have in the Destiny community. And, in general, the negativity that he's been seeing as well, because it just gets under his skin, as I think it would anybody who loves the game and the community as much as he does. So And it hit home for me. It really was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. So I put together this image very hastily. I found a picture, I believe it was from the Destiny 1 promotional package, and it just had a Titan, a Warlock, and a Hunter. And I just put, if you used to be a Guardian, and I put used to be a Guardian in quotes, then you never were. This is a take on an old joke. I said if you used to be punk, you never were, because punk is a cultural and musical movement that's based upon integrity and all this stuff. And punk takes itself a bit too seriously, just like grindcore does, which I identify with both of those things. So it was meant a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It was also meant in the character of being a Guardian in the tower. It was not meant necessarily as a direct call-out to players of the game, because the fact is, if you take a break from the game, if you take a break from playing the game, or you have a valid criticism for Bungie or Destiny, that's fine. Just don't be an asshole to other people that are still enjoying the game, or maybe have a different viewpoint. You can have a good discussion with people that are willing to have those discussions, and you can break away from the game and still be a Guardian. To me, being a Guardian within the game itself, there's a certain amount of honor attached to it, and there's certainly an amount of responsibility that one has to keep the tower safe and so forth. And the tower, in many ways, for me, represents the community at large, right? So the people that, like I said, and I'm going to reiterate this, and this is going to sound like a broken record. If you're taking a break from the game, or you have criticisms, or both, or you just didn't even pick up Destiny 2, that doesn't make you someone bad. It doesn't make you someone that I want to show any disrespect to whatsoever. And I would argue that if anyone was offended by that picture, doesn't fall into the category of people it was meant to take a dig at, which is people that either had unrealistic expectations for the game, and the second it didn't meet exactly all those things, just quit the game and took a big shit on it. People that will, say things like "Destiny is dead." This podcast is a direct response to that phrase I've been hearing for 3 years. Destiny's dead. Destiny's dead. Destiny's dead. I'm playing it right now. I'm not having any matchmaking problems. I play it on all 3 platforms. There's a lot of people still playing it. It is still fun to play. The problem for me lies in the sustainable fun and rewards over time. So, basically, I go and do my milestones, and that's about all I really care to do, because I don't have to. And there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself, but I would prefer to have a game that gives me more choices where my time investment is concerned, if that makes sense, okay? So, really, I really do get upset with people that just cannot seem to... If you don't want to play the game anymore, you don't like Destiny, or you never liked Destiny, then just leave the people that feel differently than you alone. It's not difficult. If you're going to stand there with your hands on your hips and be indignant and talk down to people that are enjoying something, then you are using your time in a very horrible manner. You should be doing other things with your life. And that's what that was meant to be. It was meant to say, you know what? If you played the game for a couple weeks of Destiny 1 and quit, didn't come back until Destiny 2 and did the exact same thing, you were never a Guardian. Because the game wasn't for you. It wasn't meant to appeal to you, and it wasn't meant to, you weren't going to give the game a chance beyond that, and that's fine. There are games that I play and I'm like, meh. And Monster Hunter being one of them. I know that I'll get crucified for that. Oh, Monster Hunter's great. This is a well-made game, which is not for me. But I'm not going to sit here and tell people not to play Monster Hunter because I didn't like it. So those kinds of people, the ones that are like, that they just want to spoil fun for other people, that's who that picture was for. Despite it originally was intended to be like an in-lore, in-game kind of thing, which I did not make clear at all. And I was like, I'm not going to try and explain this shit on Twitter. So it was just... it grew into something else. Like, that image was just meant to kind of like be a tongue-in-cheek joke thing that I knew would get under some people's skin, and I was hoping it would become some kind of a conversation, and in some cases it did. But ultimately, most of the people that responded to that image, pretty damn negative. Like, yeah, Destiny's dead. Yeah, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. It's objectively not dead. Is it the hottest game in the world? No, and it never will be. It never will be. I'm sorry. It's a niche market within the AAA market. It's a niche, just like Final Fantasy is. Okay, which I don't like that either. I don't like that game. But if you play Final Fantasy, by all means, go for it. I'm not going to sit here and say Final Fantasy's dead because of it, and that's the problem. So, sincere, deep apology to anyone who truly loves the game and wants to see it improve, that was offended by that image. Not at all the goal. Not at all the goal. Not even close. Essentially, it was an unexpected byproduct in many ways that people would get that upset by it. I thought I'd be able to make a few explanations and that would be the end of it. It didn't turn out that way. So I've had to have the conversation a few times where I'd say, hey, there's one guy who was like, hey, I guess the 1,600 hours I put into Destiny 1 didn't mean anything. I'm like, of course it did. If you had fun with it, of course it meant something. And man, you're talking to somebody, well, I guess you're listening to somebody who has over 3,000 hours in Destiny 1 and close to 500 in Destiny 2, if I'm not mistaken, between the three platforms. Might be a little less than that, closer to 400. Now, granted, that certainly illustrates the point that this game is not super hardcore in the way that it once was. And I'm still proud of the fact I've spent as many hours in here as I have. I enjoy the time that I do play the game. I want more to play for. I want more varied activities, and I think that we're going to get that over time. It was a really interesting cold shower with going from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. Because from Destiny 1, you had 3 years of content, well, 2.5 technically, and you could play anything at level. It was like a huge just way to... You could play anything. It was awesome. And to go from that to one raid, from 4 raids. Wait. Yeah, 4 raids. Sorry, I had to count there. I can math. So from 4 raids down to 1, from 5 or 6 selectable Crucible things, Crucible play types, to now you're going to 2 playlists plus trials. It was really truncated. It really limited what you could do. So right off the bat, it's less. There's less time you're going to be able to play the game because you feel like you're less in control. And when you feel less in control of the environment you're playing in, that's a bummer. It was definitely a bummer for sure. People, and then of course there's the tempo of the Crucible. Time to kill being a huge factor. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a fan of where it is now. I think it's better than Destiny 1 in as much as it provides for more variety of play styles, but I do think that it is a bit too slow. I feel like the Go Faster update is going to improve that a lot just by virtue of accentuating abilities for supers and class abilities and builds. The power ammo tweaks, I think, are really smart, where there's going to be more power ammo available more of the time. The super's going to recharge more, and you're going to be able to recharge, abilities up to 2 times. That's insane. And compared to what we have now, that's great. And you have control over that. So I think because of that, we're going to get closer to what Destiny 1 used to feel like without it being a clone of that. So I do think that the Crucible needed some tuning, for sure. And this is a start, right? The weapon balancing patch that's coming is going to be really cool. They did balance a lot of stuff. It would lean towards PvE more so than PvP. And I liked the fact that this is a very PvE tune-heavy patch, because we needed that very, very much, so that we could use different weapons during different activities. Because I've been rocking dual auto rifles and a rocket launcher for a while. Haven't had any need not to. And it just... I enjoy it, but I'd like to try something else without getting mauled. It's just... It is what it is, right? So... I do feel like Bungie has done a lot to increase communication and involve the community more in the decisions that they're making, while still maintaining ownership of their own ideas. It's a shame it took this long and this much push to get there, but it's definitely something that should be applauded on some level, because they definitely deserve credit for what they're doing. But there is a certain amount of, well, that's great. Now you have to show me beyond a few blog posts, and by few I mean the last 3 months worth. 4 if you count December, which one really should. And it's going to take more than that for me to fully embrace everything they're doing. But I think their heart is in the right place, and I think their heart's always been in the right place. But when you're dealing with numbers this big and a studio that big, you're gonna have limitations on what you're able to do on some level. Like, in other words, if I'm one guy in a studio full of 500 people, there's only so much that I can do personally, and there's certain obligations you're gonna have to your publisher and whatnot. So I recognize that. I don't much care for the influence Activision appears to have on Destiny, particularly where the microtransactions come into play. But if you look at the way that Crimson Days was handled, you can tell that Bungie's like, something, you can fuck right off with that shit, because they are showing us that, hey, look, we want to make the microtransactions something you can choose to do, and de-emphasize them completely. Because they did make it to where that stuff was not obtainable through microtransactions. It was a smart move. Really smart. Ballsy. Then they needed that big time. So, they're not perfect. It's unlikely they're ever going to be perfect. But they're making steps in the right direction. And I acknowledge that. And I appreciate it, and I still have fun playing the game. I just wish I had fun playing the game for longer periods of time, and that the rewards sustained over that longer period of time. They're making steps towards that. I can't wait to see where they go, and I hope that we'll be talking about this for a long time to come, with the positivity only increasing. My name's Grindhead Jim. This has been the Destiny's Not Dead podcast. Catch us over at anchor.fm/Destiny's Not Dead, twitter.com/Destiny's Not Dead, and twitch.tv/Destiny's Not Dead. I appreciate you listening. We hope you'll stay positive and keep faith in the light. I know it was super cheesy, and I hope none of you are lactose intolerant. Cheers.